Charles Cecil, you created Broken Sword. I must apologise for the fact that I'm using a piece of paper, but I threw my iPad at a duck that got in my way. So we're going caveman here, but the cavemen are my ancestors.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, it shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you. So we're going to start off hard, we're going to start off heavy. I want to know why you made that goat puzzle so hard.
I made that goat puzzle hard because the problem at the time was that half the people who played games had the grammar, they knew the grammar, and they just raced through and they complained it was too easy. Again, it'd be too easy. And the other half, who were just normal people, found it too hard. So what I thought, and it was a pretty ignorant thing to do, but I thought I'll put a really difficult puzzle in and it'll stop those really smart people who know the grammar. But the trouble is that for the rest of the population, probably like your good self, it stopped you on your track. Well, not wishing to say that you're in any way not one of the bright people.
I've got an IQ of 156.
No, not saying you're stupid. Not saying you're stupid. Well, yeah, not saying for one moment that you're stupid, but for those people who didn't have the grammar and didn't know about the way that all the intricacies of adventure games worked, they got very stuck.
Okay,
and that was probably one of you.
I'll let you know now, I've never done that puzzle. That doesn't mean I'm stupid.
No,
it doesn't mean I'm stupid.
Not suggesting that for one moment.
All this says to me is that you don't like humans, you prefer goats. That's what I took from this. Are you a goat person?
The goat, they've got evil eyes, haven't they? Haven't they got evil eyes?
I don't stare at goats'
slits.
eyes.
Oh, you should do. Then you'd know.
I don't know what you're talking about. You've lost me.
Okay.
Read the T-shirt. If you don't know the score, on the back it says you don't know the truth, but I'm not going to turn around in here. It's not happening.
Okay.
Right, I'm going back to my piece of paper. In the original Broken Sword, there was a Geordie on the train. He was heavily stereotyped.
He was, yes.
Do you now regret treating people from Newcastle that way? Because you did.
I live in York, where...
That's not Newcastle.
No, it isn't. But
See, I knew that. See, I'm smart.
Yeah.
I'm smart.
And I was actually in Newcastle yesterday for my son's graduation.
Did you hide your face so they didn't come at you? Because you took the mick out of them.
And the point is that, and I love Geordies, they're wonderful, but they are just like that. It's just the way they are.
You know what, I actually agree with you.
It's true, and it's not a criticism. I love Geordies. I love going to Newcastle. It's a wonderful city. But I think most Geordies would actually look at that stereotypical view and go, why, that's right.
Excuse me, mate, he's taking a nap. Sleeping like a bobby.
I love them. Oh, they're wonderful. Well, they're scary.
I think you do like them.
They're full of life. They're full of life. They're great and they're fantastic. And the other thing is that so many squaddies come from Newcastle as well. So those squaddies are always on the train. They're always on the train from London and York. They're great.
So that's where this came from. It was a Newcastle squaddie, and you were like, he's going in my game as like an homage to the people of Newcastle.
The fine people of that wonderful city.
They're not. Have you seen Geordie Shore? They're not all fine.
I haven't. Oh, I haven't watched Geordie
Shore. Some of them are terrible.
Oh,
some of them should be thrown in a well.
No.
This is actually something I want to ask you. I've been to Paris, and it's shit.
That's great.
Horrible place. There's dirt everywhere, and you've got this big thing in the middle of everything called the Eiffel Tower. Everybody loves, but it's crap. Why did you set things there? Why Paris? Why not London?
There is plenty going on in London. There's plenty going on in London. But, you know, I'm actually a fair bit older than you are. And when I was young...
I could be 62 and just look really good for my age.
Well, you would look very, very good for your age.
Yeah, right, I would.
So, but back in the, like, the 70s, everything in London was grey and smoggy. And, you know, I remember the Houses of Parliament had this sort of layer of soot. And everything kind of looked shit, basically. And then
like
you went
Paris.
to Paris. Well, no, but Paris is bright and it's breezy and it felt so spectacular. Now London's great. London is the world's premier city.
I mean, it's a great. In London.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I see what you're doing. You're a smart man.
So London's a great, great city. But my memory from the 70s was this extraordinary change in Paris. The fact that people dressed differently and they smoked the Gauloise and the Gitan, which smelled so different to the silk cut and the stuff that we were smoking. And it just was interesting. It was different. But there's stuff that goes on in England, and I guess from an English perspective, it's always quite exotic to look out at other areas. And I do love Paris, and I still love Paris. So I would actually take you to task and say that I don't think that Paris is shit. I think Paris is a great city.
Did you set it in Paris because you thought it would be easier to work puzzles into French people's lives?
I think probably it was because the Knights Templar, which was the premise on which the first game was based, were French, and as you well know, in 1314, Jacques de Molay was actually burnt at the stake on the Ile de Paris.
They burned him?
They burnt him.
Why? What did he do? Did he not know the score?
He didn't know.
That's my thing.
He didn't know the score.
That's
good
right.
one.
I like
Good
you
one.
pointed
Actually,
the T-shirt.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, he'd been tortured, of course, as had all the Templars. And Philip le Bel, who was Philip of France, had conspired with the Pope, and they decided that they were going to destroy the Templars. And so they, on Friday the 13th of October, 1307, which is where Friday the 13th comes from, it's still remembered today, they arrested all the Templars. And you see, I'm talking about this now. I've managed to get off your subject. I've got off your subject.
I'm quite impressed by your intelligence.
But what was really fun was that they basically, Philip le Bel had been fighting against France. He was almost bankrupt, and so he needed to get the money from the Templars, who were very rich. So on Friday the 13th, 1307, he sent these deputies into the temple in Paris to get it. And he found that everything had gone because he got the catacombs. And the other thing is that the fleet that they had, that the Templars had, this extraordinary fleet, one of the biggest in Europe, which was moored at La Rochelle, by the time they went to seize it, it had sailed. And nobody knows where the fleet went to, and nobody knows what happened to the treasure.
I'm not going to lie.
So there you go.
That was so much information, I kind of switched off because my brain couldn't actually take it all in. But to be fair to you, I'm quite impressed.
Fantastic.
You're a smart man.
Thank you. Well, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
All right, you're a kind of learned man.
Right.
But from now on, I will take your answers a bit more seriously. Right.
Okay.
Tell me something about Broken Sword that nobody knows. Nobody knows it at all in the world.
Well, can I tell you what I would never say myself, but I'm very happy for others, and that is that Dan Brown absolutely certainly played Broken Sword well before he wrote the Da Vinci Code, and was inspired. You've just stolen my next question. I'm sorry about that.
Don't look at my piece of paper.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well,
and take my questions. I have beautiful segues lined up that you just stole.
Do you know you're a professional?
No, I'm not. I'm a professional. I'm like a superhuman.
You're a superhuman that can just segue into the next one, surely.
I still want to know something about Broken Sword that no one knows.
Okay.
Give me an Easter egg.
I still don't quite know what the Broken Sword exactly is.
You do? No, what? You made the game.
I know. And then we called it Broken Sword.
Are you ever going to fix the sword? It's been 19 years.
The sword, you asked something else, which I had an answer to, because I haven't got an answer to this one. But yes, it has, it's broken. But do you know, the interesting thing is that, well, I think it's interesting, you probably won't, that, you know Constantine the Great, who founded Constantinople?
Yes.
Right. Do you know where he was declared emperor?
Newcastle.
York.
Well, I was close.
You were very close. How did you know that?
Well, I told you, I've got an IQ of 156 and I'm in Mensa.
Okay, so he was, and they've built a little statue, or quite a big statue, and he's sitting there on his throne, and he's holding a broken sword. So there you go.
I knew that. My next question, were you pleased by the success of Dan Brown's popular novelisation of Broken Sword? But you've already made that hint. That was like a little jab.
I know. He's absolutely my nemesis in all of this. He based it very much at a book called The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, which was written in the 70s. And there was so much nonsense in there, but the most nonsensest of all the nonsense was the idea that there's something called the Priory of Sion. Have you read the book?
Yes.
Right. Did you like it?
Maybe.
Did you believe it? I
don't believe anything.
When Dan Brown says
I don't believe
fact,
right now.
when Dan Brown says fact, the Priory of Sion has existed since 1099, when the First Crusade was completed and successful, and they'd overrun Jerusalem, and the Knights Templar was founded. And he's got this as fact when it's utter and complete nonsense.
So you're saying that Dan Brown is a man of nonsense?
I'm saying a lot of what he says is nonsense, because what he believes is what he's told. He doesn't actually doesn't appear to want to go and look under to see whether... I mean, it's a part of the internet conspiracy. You look up stuff on the internet and you could believe anything you want to believe. Somebody has stated as fact.
I'll say it for you. Dan Brown is nonsense. I think it. Cecil thinks it. Next question. This is interesting. There was a bit in Broken Sword where you go to Scotland and it's a castle.
Yes.
It's just surrounded by a swamp. Was that a dig?
Was that a dig? You are a genius.
I know. See, look.
It was a dig.
This is the narrative of this interview. You don't believe I'm a genius. We get to the end of the interview and you go, that man.
So was it a dig? But did you mean it as in, was it a dig as in, were they digging for things?
It was like a double entendre, yeah. That's what I was doing.
Wow.
You see, I'm quick. I'm ahead of the journalism curve. I bet everyone else came in here and went, is it 1080p? I've done that. I sorted it out a few weeks ago. It's done. So 60 frames, I did that too.
Yep, it is 1080p.
I might call it in the head for a bit.
Yep.
So what's a dig? So you hate Scotland?
So, no, why would I hate? Because it's a dig. Basically, if you go to the Battle of Bannockburn, there is a little church. It was the one battle where the Scottish actually beat the English. Conveniently.
I like the way you said that. Like, there's no way the Scottish could beat the English.
No, they did.
The English are more powerful than the Scots.
No. At that particular time, the English were much better resourced, and they had cavalry, and so there were many battles. But the Battle of Bannockburn was the one that Scotland won, and that's great. But next to the battlefield is St Ninian's Church, and so we set the idea. So the actual, when you go to St Ninian's Church, it's actually in a village. But the church itself is pretty close to what we depicted in the game. And in the Civil War, the main tower had blown up because the ammunition had gone off the gunpowder, which is where I got the idea for at the very end of Broken Sword, you blow it up. So yes, there's as much authenticity as possible.
See, not a lot of people know that. You should have said that when I said, tell me something you don't know about Broken Sword.
I should.
I would have already known.
You would have.
No matter what you said, I already knew.
You would already have known.
I know everything about Broken Sword. Okay, so Broken Sword 2 features a lot of London landmarks, a lot of them. But you didn't include the Gherkin or Ripley's Believe It or Not. Why were they left out? They're tourist attractions. People, I would argue that more people visit those two things than a lot of places in London that you had in your game. People love Ripley's Believe It or Not. You seen that tall guy outside?
Yeah.
He's massive.
I've never seen anyone walk in.
No, they do. They love it.
Or walk out.
Extortion. Well, of course not. Once you don't want to leave, it's Ripley's Believe It or Not. You don't believe it, so you stay. Why aren't they in the game?
I'm not sure the Gherkin...
The O2 Arena isn't in there either.
I'm not sure that the Gherkin existed, and the O2 Arena definitely didn't exist, because...
You can't prove
First time round.
No one can prove these facts.
No, nobody can, no. And all the others, the Cheese Grater, the Shard, all those wonderful landmarks.
You should have put the Shard in it.
I should if I thought about it.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll let you off.
But it was raining.
Do you have an ending in mind for Broken Sword? Like, are you going to get the sword, like I said, are you going to get the sword fixed? Is that like the end? Does it end with that dude with blonde hair lifting up the sword like He-Man and going, I have the power because he fixed the Broken Sword?
Well, that is what happens in Broken Sword 3, because...
He turns into He-Man?
Well, he turns into a bit like He-Man, and the reason that happened was that we decided there was the opportunity to the third one in the series, so we kind of said this is the end of it. So George gets his sword in exactly the way that you've just described. He kills a dragon, becomes a hero.
Did he kill Skeletor? He-Man killed Skeletor. That's just a lie, he never did kill Skeletor.
No, he didn't, did he?
Why didn't you have your guy kill Skeletor?
That would have been really good.
Evil Lyn. Then Man-at-Arms could have turned up and had a little...
Evil Lyn?
Evil Lyn was an enemy in He-Man. Her name was Evil Lyn. She hung out with Skeletor, and Skeletor would go, shut up, Evil Lyn.
And was she really evil?
Well, she must have been. Her name was Evil Lyn. Anyway, he kills the dragon.
Yeah, he kills the dragon, and he's holding the sword. And that was kind of the end. And then we wrote a fourth one, and that's one of the reasons why we had such a downbeat start, because we'd kind of gone for the fact that it was going to be a trilogy and there would be no more.
Yeah.
And then we reinvented it. So I won't make the same mistake again. So there won't be any ending.
I think that's smart, and here you are today with a brand new Broken Sword game.
Absolutely, number 5.
It should have been called Mended Sword.
It should.
You didn't do that. So I'll give you have impressed me during this interview, so I will let you talk. Tell me about your new Broken Sword game.
Well, Broken Sword 5, as you know, is 1080p.
Has it got a subtitle?
Yeah, The Serpent's Curse.
Yeah, people love subtitles.
From a story perspective, it explores lots of the sort of stuff that you'll be interested in. You know, theology in terms of the Gnostics and the Cathars and great wars and crusades against people in far-flung places, and you know, it's just all good stuff. And exotic locations, going off to Montségur and going off to Montserrat. Actually, they don't go to Montségur. They go to Montserrat and various other exotic locations. And then off to Syria in the end.
Syria?
Oh, yeah.
No, don't go to... Why are you sending
Turkey,
to Syria?
Turkey, Syria.
There's a lot of stuff going on in Syria that you don't want to get tied up in. Not even He-Man can save you in Syria.
I did some interesting research, actually. We went to a place called Urfa, which is in Turkey, but it was just on the Syrian border.
You were crazy.
And it was extraordinary because there was sort of dust clouds coming over. And then a little bit later, this was about a year ago, maybe slightly more, and then all the trouble started spilling out over into Turkey and all those bombs. But it was good stuff. The interesting thing about Urfa is it's very big biblical in terms of, you know, the people that were meant to live there. So it was where Abraham was meant to have died. It was where Job was born and raised, etc., etc. So, you know, good stuff.
It is good stuff. I noticed that when these games come out as well, they have like box quotes on them. says like, this game is amazing, or like, you must buy this game. So if you want, you can put
Actually, they don't go to Syria, they go to Iraq.
Iraq, it's even worse. You're crazy. But for your box, you can have this. You can put Simon Miller of the Miller Report. Buy this, or you're a numpty.
Can I use that?
You can use that. But don't tell anyone I played it, because I haven't.
No,
I
no,
won't.
no, no, no,
So
no,
don't
no,
play
no.
video games, because video games are for babies,
Yeah.
especially Nintendo games.
But it'd be hard to disagree with you on that one. But if I could use the quote, that would be fantastic. That would be
Buy this game, or you're, ellipses, a numpty.
brilliant, thank you.
I let you down. And I don't do that with anyone, but you were smart, and I respect intelligence. So thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you. It's what a great pleasure it has been
I am a pleasurable
talking
person.
to you.
No one else would do this kind of stuff with you.
No, they wouldn't.
Who was the worst interview of the day? There you go. What did they ask you? I bet they said, how is it so hard to make more Which is a diss to you, you know, when they say, how do you keep coming up with the ideas? Like, you don't have more ideas? Like, they've got ideas? Ridiculous.
It is
Preposterous.
ridiculous. It is.
When you see them, tell them I hate them.
So it's so fresh to have an intelligent, articulate, intelligent, bright interviewer like you.
Exactly,
Thank you.
exactly.
Not a numpty.
Who knows the score and knows the truth.
Indeed.
Damn right.
Because if you don't know the score,
You don't know the truth.
exactly.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, man. You are a hero. And don't start doing that jig you do to mock people when someone's trying to talk about important things. Are you even listening to me?
So let me get this straight. You want me to fly back to the UK